to open up the meeting. And I have a couple adjustments to the select board agenda. One of them is to appoint a new library board trustee, and I'll explain that a little further with Brandy's help whenever we take that up. And the other is just a short update on the first court hearing that we had for the old Quarry Road spur. That's pretty brief. Is there any public comment? Do you want to wait until we get into the town highway report? I assume you're here for something in that line. Okay.
Michael?
Yes.
When I was just coming up through, I noticed that there is a green truck that's parked right in front of the stairs that go into the town clerk's office.
They're using the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but can we make it so they don't park right in front of the stairs?
I can ask them that.
Yeah, with a hotspot, you can be over to
Some people
out of Laflayon's or his house and still get it.
They're sitting on the porch. It's a young couple. They're sitting on the porch and they're using the plug-ins so they don't wear out the battery on their laptop.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that, but I was just wondering if I was going to go in here tonight and do auditing,
Right.
it'd be a little weird to walk around that truck.
Yeah, I did go in there tonight, and they got off the porch, but I told them it was fine to sit there. But yeah, they were there last night too, I think, when, no, there's no sign saying that. But yeah, if we see them again, we can ask them just not to park right in front of it. Yep. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the bills to the town?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. And then, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 27th, 2020 meeting, select board meeting?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so there is a copy here somewhere, Brian, for you to sign, and then we'll give it to Diana, I guess, before I walk off with it like I did last week. So next on the agenda is Skip with some news and information about the town plan and consultant contract award.
I've got a sign.
Actually, you weren't here.
Oh, I don't have.
There you go. You got it, not me.
So in your package, there are several documents, including on the last page, there's a timeline for the municipal town plan project, and it shows a sequence of events, including promulgating a request for proposal. Just a little background. Planning Commission applied for fiscal year 2020 municipal planning grant with the Department of Housing and Community Development last year. However, the town of Woodbury, along with numerous other towns, were unsuccessful because there was a total of $850,000 worth of applications, and they were seeking funds totaling $450,000, so they just didn't pass the grade. So that being said, we came before the town meeting in March, and we asked the voters to approve $10,000 to get assistance for the Planning Commission to write the town plan. The voters agreed that that was a good project to take on, and so hence we decided to issue an RFP. And we had got some preliminary pricing from the Regional Planning Commission indicating that writing a town plan could cost easily $10,000. So we went for $10,000. And again, the voters said okay, and we started the planning process. And in reviewing our purchasing policy, the Planning Commission noted that any purchase for goods or services over $8,000 requires the issuance of an RFP. So that being said, we put this RFP together. The Planning Commission spent a couple of months on it, and we issued it, and it's on your timeline on the last page. We issued it, let me just see, distributed the RFP in June 16th. And we gave the respondents 8 weeks to reply. We sent the RFP to the Regional Planning Commission, to the American Planning Association, Northern New England chapter in Concord. We established an account on the Vermont Business Directory, and that is a website that publishes electronic bids. So if the town of Woodbury would like to issue an electronic bid, we do have an account in the Vermont Business Directory, which is accessed by, numerous vendors looking for, procurement bids, anything like that, for equipment, services, things of that nature. We also sent the RFP to Vermont Planners Association Consultants in Waterbury, Stewart Consulting in Lyndonville, and the SE Group, in Burlington. So and there was a base sheet that Diana advertised it in a couple of media, print media, and it was also on our RFP, on our website. And the face sheet of the RFP is in your package as well. So we received only one response, and that was from the Regional Planning Commission. And with that, we set out to evaluate their response. And I have some notes about the evaluation. And we set forth a vendor evaluation worksheet, which had 4 categories in it, and points per category totaled 100 points. So that being said, the 3 evaluators from the Planning Commission were myself, Jim Schwartheim, and Dave Bernowski. Michael, because of his position, Michael's also a member of the Planning Commission, but because of his position on the Executive Board of the Regional Planning Commission, he recused himself. So the Regional Planning Commission, Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, received 80 points from me, 70 points from Jim, and 100 points from Dave Bernowski. So with that, we thought their proposal was adequate. And one of the reasons why we like their proposal is that they are one of the entities which will look at our final plan, or at our draft plan, and adjudicate whether or not it passes all the state laws, regulations, and that it's a good plan and we can move forward with it. So we put together some notes, and I thank Jim for doing this. And the purposes of the plan was to fulfill a legal requirement for a plan. And it's also to provide context on the biophysical, historical, and social aspects of Woodbury. So Jim is a PhD, and he gets right down into it, which is great. And a key part of this plan is to express the aspirations of town residents regarding future development. So that's key to creating this plan. And one of the other aspects of the plan will give the town a tool to enhance legal leverage and support grant proposal. That's a big one. So we came up with 3 different choices: to accept the Regional Planning Commission's proposal as is, and to negotiate on cost and/or task effort. In other words, part of contract negotiations, we would go over their proposal. We could also reject the proposal and wait and see if we were successful in getting a state planning grant, which last year we were unsuccessful. Lastly, it would be to work on the plan ourselves, which could be done in conjunction with, applying for a planning grant and being successful with that application. So we all chose option number 1, which is to accept the Regional Planning Commission's proposal and to seek contract negotiations with them. We don't want to delay this task anymore. Our plan is extremely dated. It was issued in 2003. So along with 2003 municipal plan. Our zoning regulations are that dated as well. So in concert with this municipal plan, we hope to update the zoning regulations to make it more timely. So, all that being said, I would like the Select Board's permission to move forward with contract negotiations with the Regional Planning Commission.
Any questions or comments to skip?
We will spell that.
Yeah. Good. Would you like us to do a formal vote?
Yeah,
Probably should,
And the
okay.
reason why, for that, Michael, is when we apply for the fiscal year 2021 municipal planning grant, we have to have buy-in for what we're doing right now by the Select Board.
Okay.
And also for our application, I believe I sent this to you folks, I have a resolution which is separate from what I hope you'll do now, that you support the Planning Commission in moving forward with applying for the fiscal year 2021.
Anybody like to make a motion to back up? Technically, the chair should not make motions.
I'll make a
but that's
motion to
fine.
accept the planning commission's recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. So with that, I have an email to the Regional Planning Commission stating that the Select Board authorized us to move forward with contract negotiations. And in the timeline, you'll see that we hope to have contract negotiations wrapped up by September 4th, and then move forward with public outreach and putting together the draft plan. And then you'll see in the Gantt chart that there's a sequence of events that really start after the 4th and go through, I believe it's May 21st, 2021, when we would present the final municipal plan to the town clerk, whomever that might be, and also distribute it to local towns as well. So, just one more thing. So here's the 2021 municipal planning grant program description, and I believe I sent it to, I know I sent it to our planning commission members, and I believe I sent it to the select board as well. And in order to apply for this grant, we have to have a resolution from the select board indicating that they are on board with us, planning commission, applying for the grant, because there's a 10% match. So, again, it would be authorizing the planning commission to spend 10% match of the grant. Last year we asked for a $9,800 grant, so that would have been $980. I believe this year we would not ask for that amount of money. We would ask, and we would find this out during contract negotiations with the Regional Planning Commission. How much would it take to enhance our public outreach and hold events as needed, especially in the COVID-19 virus environment, and how that would work. How would we do that? So anyhow, that's what I believe that the funds would be earmarked for, would be mostly public outreach.
Do you, will the planning commission be coming up with a figure that they'll,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, the application is due October 1st. And before that, we have to put together a budget. So I'll come before the board again with our grant budget, just to give you guys a heads up what it might entail.
Go ahead.
The second phase, the $10,000 is hopefully going to get a town plan written. And this,
Well,
true?
that could be true.
You know,
It could be
that's
true.
what it's for, right?
It is. The Regional Planning Commission, when we put the RFP out, it was a fixed cost of $10,000. And I believe the reason why we only had one response is because no one can really do that for $10,000. The Regional Planning Commission came up with $11,352, so they're over budget by $1,352. Anyhow, So part of this fiscal year 2021 grant would be to make up that shortfall and also to enhance our public outreach.
Public outreach for
Community events.
community events for developing the plan or
Like,
going
what do you want to do with this
zoning
building?
and...
What do you want to do with this building? What do you want the town center to look like? Do we want any place where residents of Woodbury can actually swim in all our lakes and ponds? What are we going to do with our school in the event that closes or doesn't become a school anymore?
Fire station.
See, that's part of the public outreach. Exactly. What do we do with the town-owned properties and what do we do with all this? To me, it's a stranded investment, all the recreational opportunities we have in town that just aren't utilized for whatever reason. So we hope to get to that as well, along with protecting our forests and things of that nature.
And you could also use it for working on zoning, maybe getting some professional help to redraft the zoning, is that? No?
Not on this grant.
Oh, okay, that's for planning only.
It's for planning only. So, in essence, that's what you folks would have to do, the select board, would be read this. It gives instruction. It says, therefore, to resolve that the legislative body of Woodbury, blah, 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 blah. And then there's a place for signage on the back.
So the planning commission will come up with an amount that they're going to apply for within the grant, and then the town, the select board, on behalf of the town, will approve the resolution or the commitment for the 10%. We should be able to do that in the time frame of creating a fiscal year 22 budget. So if we were to be awarded the grant, the money would be already planned for. That sounds good. Yeah.
But this has to go in, Michael, with our application.
Here you go. Yeah. So you'll get back to the select board on how much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll, so we could, depending on when the planning commission decides that, we could do it, we'll just, the following meeting, once that decision has been made,
We have a meeting.
we have a meeting
We
Monday.
have a meeting on Monday,
Yeah.
and
I'm
we'll start.
assuming the minutes will have to be signed and approved from this meeting, that it was agreed, and then it can be submitted?
Well, we haven't agreed to anything yet because we don't know what the amount is. So,
But as
When-
far as agreeing to proceed with the,
or with the contract?
right,
Yeah, that'll be in the minutes.
We did that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
this is something else.
This would be just a resolution supporting the planning commission to apply for a fiscal year 2021 municipal planning grant through the Department of Housing and Community Development.
Are you asking them to do that now?
Yes, it has to be done before.
He's asking you to do that now.
So we need to do it now.
Right.
You're talking about a commitment of maybe $1,000? The 10%?
$500?
Do you have an idea
That's
how
not a
much
lot.
you'll be
Yes.
asking for?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how much?
Oh, I think $5,000.
$5,000.
The minimum you can ask for is $2,200.
So you're thinking, asking for just enough to kind of cover
The $1,350.
the $1,350? Okay.
Shortfall.
Okay, well, I was waiting for a figure that we.
Oh, okay.
We already have that.
Oh, no, that's just,
Yeah,
we don't have a firm
Okay.
figure.
but you have a pretty good idea, so
Yes.
we could act on that.
Right.
All right.
So I'll make a motion to support the resolution for the planning commission's, the planning commission proposed.
Okay.
What do the gentlemen have to read this
I'll let you read it.
to make it fair and square?
Okay.
so by this agreement, we're increasing, or we're creating an item line for $5,000 for this fiscal
No.
year?
No.
For the match, which we don't
Just
have a
$500,
figure yet.
yeah, around $500.
$5,000 still has to go through the budget, right?
No.
No.
What this is it shows good faith by the town of Woodbury in support of their planning commission to apply apply for, excuse me, a fiscal year 2021 grant.
But that's this fiscal year, so do I need to factor in that money for this tax rate?
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's all I'm
Because chances are, since Woodbury is such a small community, you may not be awarded a grant.
It's
I
pretty
looked at
small.
the list of grantees last year, and there was only one town that had their municipal planning application approved.
One town?
Yeah, the rest went to larger towns
Oh.
with deeper pockets.
There's going to be less money in the pot this year too, I would assume, with the state revenue deficit kind of. From,
Well,
I mean, that's just an assumption on my part.
as of this verb, this planning grant program description, they say that they have $450,000.
Okay.
That was as of July 1st.
They may have already been, given the money before all of this pandemic stuff started, so they may have it already. Okay.
You guys did this last year as well.
Okay.
I don't,
I thought we did.
might sound like a holy show.
Where'd my glasses go?
You're on your face.
Oh,
Okay.
I couldn't see them. I couldn't see them anywhere.
That's because you're looking through them. You're checking your jar. What do you think?
Quiet, quiet. It is live, yeah. Hey, we got #1 ratings everywhere.
Yeah, everybody will watch it. A million hits.
Okay, so whereas the municipality of Woodbury is applying for funding as provided for in the fiscal year 21 Budget Act and may receive an award of funds under said provisions, and whereas the Department of Housing and Community Development may offer a grant agreement to this municipality for said funding, and whereas the municipality is maintaining its efforts to provide local funds for municipal and regional planning purposes, or that the municipality has voted at an annual or special meeting to provide local funds for municipal and regional planning purposes, now therefore be it resolved. 1, the legislative body of this municipality enters into and agrees to the requirements and obligations of this grant program, including a commitment to match funds. 2, the municipal planning commission recommends applying for said grant, signed by Thomas Lindsay. That Michael Gray, select board chair, who is either the chief executive officer, as defined in 10 VSA, blah, 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 or is a select board member, the town manager, city manager, or town administrator, is hereby designated to serve as the municipal authorizing official for the grant electronic application and reporting system, otherwise known as GEARS, and to execute the grant agreement and other such documents as may be necessary to secure these funds. Alternate authorizing official for redundancy, Paul Cerruti, select board member, who, same thing I just read. And 3C, that Thomas Lindsay Jr., planning commission chair, is hereby designated as the grant administrator, the person with the overall administrative responsibility for the municipal planning grant program activities related to the application and any subsequent grant agreement provisions. Passed this 12th of August, 2020. So do I hear a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Something on the back? Okay. So looks like we get to sign it now. Okay, now I gotta find my pen.
Maybe,
Almost. Okay. I'll pass it
We're gonna check
around.
I'll scan that and send it around.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else at all, Skip? Anything else you'd like to say, or any questions for Skip about this from anybody?
As long as we don't put sidewalks along in front of everything in town.
Like, I've been here.
As long as we don't plan to put sidewalks along everything in town again, like we did, what, 10 years ago?
No.
I
Well,
don't
who
know.
knows?
There was sidewalks?
Oh, yeah.
They proposed them, they never got
They were done. You was, oh, it was unbelievable. You weren't here then? You missed it.
I was here, but I don't remember that. I remember the village plan.
If you don't believe how nice it is, we'd have these small players.
Yeah.
So just as an aside, I was talking to the select board chair from Paving last time. They have so much money because of the
Landfill,
landfill.
yeah.
But they're paving all their dirt roads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they got all the tipping fees they get.
Yeah, they send all the kids to college too.
They get millions of dollars.
They have no municipal tax.
No,
When I was up
millions
there-
of dollars.
When I was up there as the operations manager up the landfill, they were getting $1.50 a ton, and we were putting
Yep.
3,500 ton in there a day.
They got a lot.
And nobody wants to host a landfill. Somebody's out of their head.
Yeah.
Woodbury is a landfill. Pretty much.
Ain't no way.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the town highway report. So we'll pass it on to Chuck here.
Alright, they were in West Woodbury and done some ditching, and they were on East Hill today, on the sharp corner up there above the Eagle's Nest. I guess it's Eagle's Nest, used to be. And added 8 feet to the culvert there, gained 3 feet of road, got the road back where it belongs. We've talked about fixing out here in a week or so, and at the same time, we'll be over here in front of the annex building. And at some point, I'd like to talk about changing the driveway going into the school. I got a quote on the 550, and I told him I wanted to know what it would cost to get it to go 3 years, and he's added in 4 tires at $800, but that's to get it to go 3 years. We've got tires enough to get it inspected this year and run it. The total on it was $2,884, but that means we've got to do something for a body. It needed, I gave you a quote, and didn't I give you one? Needs ball joints on the right hand side, some work on the rocker panel, and a left front wheel bearing, and there's some engine codes. But on a 550, they're not anywhere near as serious as they are on a car or a pickup. So it's looking like for $3,000 plus, well, less than that, probably $2,000
Yeah, tires.
without the tires, and we can buy tires cheaper than that too. But we do need to do something for body. That one's shot. And down in Green Mountain trailers in Morrisville, they have a 2018 that they're taking off, and the guy doesn't know what he wants to do with it, but he said he would entertain an offer to buy it. The new body is $3,160 to go on that truck.
That's not.
And that can be transferred to a different rig if we end up replacing it eventually.
Well, if we could buy, this is just my thought, if
Yeah.
we could buy the 2018 body for a couple thousand, you know, save over $1,000 off a new one. And this one looks just like brand new. It's
Can't
in
be
nice
more
shape.
if it's a 2018.
Yeah, it can't be too bad.
No, there isn't. And, you know, if we could buy it for a couple of thousand for $4,000 plus some work on the snowplow, I think it'd be a pretty cheap truck.
So it would be a total of maybe around 7 to 10,000 for the whole setup?
Well, we need to buy a sander, and that, you're gonna have to buy that regardless of what we have for a truck.
Right.
You need a V-box sander. We're getting a price on one. I thought I might have it tonight, but I don't.
Can I ask you what you're looking at? A stainless one or a poly?
Poly one with a stainless chain and hydraulic driven.
Now, see, that makes a difference. The hydraulic different one, because you already have the hydraulics on that truck.
Right.
So,
Or you don't have to buy a motor to run.
And it's a stainless steel chain.
The worst thing with those with motors on them is the maintenance of them after a year or so. You know, that's it.
What's that?
The maintenance on the motor, the one with motors is the
Oh,
problem.
yeah. No, the hydraulics are all in the back of the truck. It's gonna be a polycast chassis, I guess you'd
See,
call
that
it.
one I bought for the single axle, you can get a pretty good deal on because of the hydraulic pack.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting on 2 quotes. I haven't seen either one of them yet. Gravel Construction is gonna give us a quote on it because they're right here. We do business with them all the time. And I have another one out of Heinsberg.
But I'd try a Lucky's too.
Yeah, well, I knew that too.
I know a guy who just did one down there, he did his plow and his sander, and he got a hell of a deal.
I haven't put a lot of time into that yet because I feel I need to know what you're gonna do with the truck and
Yeah.
if you're gonna buy a body and stuff, and then we can get serious about the rest of it. But the sander, basically, whether you fix this truck or buy another truck, is gonna be basically the same price.
Well, to me, the price seems reasonable to fix the truck. It's gonna last 3 years.
Bear said you should get 3 years out of it with no problem. The frame is in good shape, cross members are good. There is some front end problems, but for what I
A
said.
couple $1,000.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot less than a new one.
Right.
Yes, a lot less. And
That sounds like a good way to go for us
I
then.
think so. And that can plow these small areas and sand,
well,
salting. And
it's gonna start. They've been doing it with that low pro, and with the wing on, they can't get close
can't get
enough
any
to the
close
building.
enough to the buildings, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but isn't that one of the problems that we had down at the town clerk's office over here? We were plowing all of them, and I couldn't understand that at all that last winter.
me either.
When you're plowing that and pushing everything down the town clerk's office with that low pro, when that's built to plow roads with, not parking
If
lots.
this one has a plow, we ought to use it that way.
So,
Well, but we're gonna need to put some money in that plow.
Sure,
I
yep.
don't have a quote on that yet.
Okay, but the truck, I mean, that's gonna happen with what we have, so.
Right.
so for this fiscal year, we budgeted $500 for the 550s. So we'll have to figure out
500?
$500 because we figured we're getting rid of it.
Yeah, but it's
So-
gonna be less expensive than buying something
But
else.
we need to figure out where the money's going to come from. That's the deal.
Well, remember I told you a while ago not to spend all that money?
We
on
didn't
that
spend
truck
all
and
our
wrap.
insurance money.
And I'm not sure where that has gone to. Gary.
Well, me either, but it should show up here.
Right. This is kind of my thought too, is if we had insurance money we haven't spent, it's a good place to spend it.
Do you have a sense in your head of how much money is left over from the insurance?
So it's going to be in the last page on the due to, due from, and it'll tell you how much money is in the highway right now. And that's where it would sit, because it's not income that,
So highway due to from $36,909.
Yep.
Okay, so we have money. See?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
I think.
Let's get rid of it.
There was around $11,000 left out of that truck. I've been paying attention to this.
Right, because all we've done is bought the red one.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where the money would come from to do this.
Essentially, it's the insurance money. That was my thought.
Well, you know what I mean?
Can I
Well, there's got to be more than just the insurance money there, but
Yeah, there's more than the
I
insurance
don't know,
money.
I'm gonna have to have Jeremy come down and look at it.
Because other than that, we can't get it inspected, we're gonna have to buy something else, and we certainly didn't budget for that.
right.
But all I'm telling you is what I found out,
Okay.
and you don't have to tell me where the money's coming from, I don't care. Either we're gonna fix it or we're not.
I think we
I just need it.
but it seems like if there's around 11 left from that insurance claim, we got enough money to get a body and eventually deal with the sander and plow.
I'm guessing a Sanders is gonna come in around, between 36 and 4,600.
Yeah.
So, new. We haven't, I don't even wanna go through the headaches of looking for a used one.
I've been looking at that stuff for a while. It's almost impossible to find one used that's a hydraulic. Everybody's the small guys all get the one with the motor on it.
Yes.
So it's just so expensive to hook up the hydraulics.
You're right.
But the natural
And used, that usually means a sander has been used a lot.
Yeah.
So what's our pleasure? Anybody want to?
I say we authorize Chuck to get the truck repaired and then come to us with future proposals about bodies, plows, and sanders.
Okay, well, if we're gonna go this route, the Green Mountain body down there, or Green Mountain sander, or trailer, or whatever it is down Morrisville, I feel that 2018, we ought to offer them a couple grand for it.
Go for it.
Okay, so go ahead and make a motion for it, or just do it.
Well, we should probably make a motion. I mean, you started.
I'll make a motion that we repair the truck for the estimate you've given us and purchase the body,
Well, we'll,
or negotiate for the body.
Yeah.
a new one's 3160. We put a brand new one on it.
Well, I know he's in a stronger position if he's got authorization to make a deal, that's
Right,
the
yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah.
So.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Okay.
So,
Because we gotta do something, we're gonna be
Yeah.
up against it pretty quick here.
It ain't that far off.
I went to the lawnmower shop and the lawnmowers are all out and there's all snow blowers in there.
Yeah,
So he must know something I don't.
yeah, the blackbirds were gathering this morning, so there's something coming.
It's pretty depressing looking in there.
So do you have anything else, or should we move on to the mower brush cutter? Or?
No, I guess you can move on.
Okay.
I'll probably think of something else and I'll.
But we're still in that topic, so.
Yeah.
So for the last couple of select board meetings, we've been talking about the mower brush cutter, which we talked about a year or two ago. And last select board meeting, Chuck had gotten a price for us, it was $49,000, let's call it $50,000 by the time we rounded
The
off.
second set of blades, it was like 50,200.
Yeah. And we have had, felt that this was worth pursuing, so I have some terms from the Union Bank if we want to go with a loan. So there are different scenarios. First, we should decide if we do want to purchase this, and then we can,
I was in hopes that you would be able to pay for it with the amount of money you were spending every year, not that you had to.
we can do that, but the loans are a little bit more than that. But that's what I thought we could talk about. I have some ideas on that. Skip?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. My auditor, so the town purchasing policy indicates that anything over $8,000, whether it's goods or services, has to go out to a competitive bid to free vendors. So I'm just wondering if that procedure had been followed in this, and if so, fine. But if not, I believe before you go and negotiate a loan with someone, you should have bids from 3 separate vendors. That's all.
And the piece of equipment that we're looking at is basically made by one manufacturer. It's a specialty item.
Right.
So going out to bid to different companies for this particular piece of equipment is not a possibility. It's made by one company somewhere out in the west, Southwest Pennsylvania.
That's west of us.
So we could go out to bid for the loan. What we have done in the past is we have all our accounts with the Union Bank. So that's basically the loan terms that I've got for tonight.
Brush time, correct? Yeah, mows the side of the road.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
mower.
yeah, that's some brush.
More brush.
Goes up and things like that.
It's a flail.
It's a flail mower. It's
Yeah.
not an articulating arm that goes up or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
It does.
21 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, fits on the bucket loader.
Okay, so it concerns me that there's only one company that makes this. There must be other types of apparatus that will do the same thing, but not cost $50,000. Because if you're trying to trend a payback on this, $50,000, how quickly are you going to pay that back? Depending upon, using the cost of your annual mowing.
Well, what we do each year, we rent a mower. So, and we spend, it's averaging out about $5,000 a year that we pay and rent. It's going up every year. When we have it for 1 week, 2 years ago, it was $3,200 for a week. This year, for 2 weeks, it was $6,600. So, I've kind of rounded that up to about $10,000 for 2 years, and the average is about $5,000 a year that we spend on rent.
So that would be a payback if you're financing 50 grand at X percentage, that would be a payback of 12 years.
Right.
And that's not a good payback.
But we could use our equipment reserve
That
fund
would be my
and just
question.
buy it
If we use
outright.
the higher reserves, then you wouldn't be paying the interest.
Yeah. That's another scenario that we could do.
Can I say something?
Sure.
The year that you rent it for a week, you might just well not rent it.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll add to that. You rented it for 2 weeks this year, and you might well not have rented it.
Well, they did a lot better this year with 2
You
weeks.
did some right.
We are talking about that tonight. Okay, I don't want to get into that. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
wait,
this more.
The only thing I'm saying is that you really need to rent it for 2 weeks every year,
Right.
because,
They just barely got enough time to have much.
right,
Yeah.
and they're not getting the edges of the road back. I mean, we can sit here and argue all day whether they're cutting them or not,
Right.
but when they're making one pass and they're cutting 3 feet of grass,
Yeah. Well, for this fiscal year, we have budgeted $6,500, which is technically the 2 weeks. That even the, we've done a year, 2 years, a year, 2 years, and that's been kind of our pattern. But we do have enough budgeted for 2 weeks for next year.
Well, I'll say something as a taxpayer, that the job that's been being done since you've been renting it is not adequate. You're falling behind every year, and if something different has to happen.
Well, that's why we're exploring this
If this is
option.
what it takes, then we've got to look at it, because I don't care. I live up there where they mow, and I'm telling you right now, it's been inadequate for the last 10 years.
Okay, well, that's why we're looking
And
at
the hope
this.
is this would be something that they could spend time on.
well, and the thing that is, my argument is there's a lot of rainy days when they don't feel like going away, and they screw around, they screw around the shop, and probably sweep the floors and stuff like that. But you know what? With that brand new loader and a brand new cab on it, and air conditioning and heat, there's no reason that you can't be out there mowing brush on a rainy day. And I don't care who they are.
So, to address Skip's concerns, we can do due diligence and see if there is something else available. It is pretty much a specialty item. I doubt that we'll find that, but we could look just to keep the auditors happy. We could, look for other loan terms from other banks. The Union Bank has been pretty good to the town. We could do
I'm
that.
on the side of if we've got the money in the reserve, that we should pay for it with that.
Okay, so this is what we have in the reserve, and it's actually in a couple of funds, and Brandy, correct me if I'm mistaken, because this has always been confusing to me, but, so right at the moment, in the heavy equipment reserve fund, we have $42,000 according to...
Where do we see that?
Okay, it's the last
Oh, last
page of the
page.
financials that you were just given, and then...
Hey, we got light.
Okay, and then on page, let me find it, I have it in my old one, but under the amount that we have paid for our trucks, page, I don't see a page number, page 10. So you'll notice that right at the moment, we're paying for two pieces of equipment. We're paying $6,000, let's call it $7,000 a year for the loader, bucket loader, and $26,400 for the low pro. Every year we appropriate $90,000 towards highway equipment, so we will have a balance. Now let's see, how come it's not on?
So
Look under the capital reserve fund, fiscal year 21.
Which page?
Page 10, same page, $56,623.82. So
56, and in this, with the, correct me, is there a transfer that needs to happen?
We-
We get the taxes, is that what that 42?
actually, we have two reserve funds now.
Oh,
This-
okay.
This is to go with the yearly budget, and then the other is, the Swenson money goes into it. And I think eventually it's Brandy's hope that we eliminate the HERF fund entirely and just have the capital equipment reserve fund
In the highway.
in the highway budget.
All right, I see,
If
that's,
we're
there's
purchasing
56,623 in there,
So right now, we have like 90, we have almost $100,000
between the two.
between the two. So we could buy this piece of equipment outright and have no interest payments. That will, of course, deplete the equipment reserve fund, you know, and it will probably take us 2 or 3 years to have enough if we want to buy a new truck outright.
Sure, but it would save us, what's the interest we're looking at?
So if we did a,
Well, you can do that both ways.
That's the grand
and we
list.
are going to talk about that tonight, okay? So, for a 5-year loan,
Which I believe legally we can only do a 5-year loan.
7-year loan, we would need approval at town meeting.
Right. I think Skip has another shoot.
Yeah, just a quick question. How often would this piece of equipment be used?
It could be used year-round if we have.
Yeah, but I mean, to make sense of it, how often do you have to cut brush?
It's bad.
Talk to
I'm
me.
just
You
asking.
can cut brush every day for 2 years, and you wouldn't catch up.
Yeah, it's bad right now, it's really
It's
needs.
terrible.
No brush cut in 12 years.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I just, you know,
And renting that tractor for 2 weeks is, it helps. You get 2, 3 roads and they're in good shape, but after that, they gotta rush so much to just cover the road that it's
Yeah.
just not feasible.
So if you were to,
to me, this
Here, I'll have you.
What's that?
to me, it's a specialty item. You know, especially-
It is a very specialty item,
Used for
but
one function.
700 interest.
And I was just
Well-
curious how often that's used.
that turns the loader into being a 2-function item, piece of equipment.
So this isn't attached to the loader.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
loader is running every time, all the time with this new.
It's actually, I think, a really good use of the loader in the
So-
summertime. Because it has the ability, when they're on a road, they can clean it back. It's like, if you see all the tree limbs, with the fire trucks, we're getting beat with these tree limbs, continually breaking lights and,
Well, the town trucks is the same way, they have mirrors beat right off. And something's definitely gonna happen, either you're gonna have to hire a contractor to come in and do so many miles of road a year, or get something so that when they've got downtime, like a rainy day, they could be out there doing something.
it's not
And
long.
I don't have to scratch my head trying to figure out what they're gonna do.
It's just they don't know what to
Have
do.
you looked into it all, that transpire?
Air packs is only one contractor about this product.
We've done it in the past by hiring crews, but it
so
doesn't.
I don't want to get into a debate about the brush cutting. I'd like to kind of stay focused on,
But we're just helping Skip understand.
yeah. But as you can see, there are opinions that there's plenty of.
We
brush
share,
cutting to
I
be
share
done.
your opinion that we get it, and I think Chuck does too, that if it gets bought, we would use the thing,
Oh, it definitely be you.
because it's desperately needed.
I mean, it's,
The mowing could be done a different time, you know, like there's a lot of invasive weeds that grow on the side of the road. They could be mowed so that we could hopefully get them before they go to seed and try to cut down on that type of problem.
Because again, a lot of that mowing needs to occur in early spring, and we don't have the mower.
on the other hand too, just throwing this out, that you could actually accrue some of that as to help pay for the loader, because you're not hiring a crew out there cutting brush at, I don't know what a mile.
Well, because then we could do something else with the money we're spending on mower rents if we bought it outright.
Okay, so Skip has his hand up.
Would it be feasible to rent this to other municipalities?
No,
No.
So I have an auditor question though.
There's another thing.
they only take one bolt inside that table.
You go to towns that take care of their roads, other than, I went to Sheffield, and any of the places up north, they had their rigs. That's not necessarily the same as this, but they mow the minimum of 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Just doing it once,
This doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
I know what
You're
we're
not
doing
trying to
And
hide
another thing that I'd really like to point out on this, we had that mower rented for the second 2 weeks of June, was it? And we lost a complete month of June because we had 2 guys on that mower trying to get 80 hours.
And that's the second problem.
We didn't, the excavator never turned the track. We never done any ditching, we didn't do anything. And as short as the construction season is up here, that's a big deal.
Somebody's gonna have to run this new thing, right?
Yeah, but it'll be on a rainy day or something like that. It won't be on the best days when you're changing culverts and honing roads.
Right, you can spread it out, you don't have to. So my question is on like, this looks like it's an auditor question, you may or may not have the answer. 'Cause we run into this with federal grants with the fire department, when, like our air pack, you can only buy that from one dealer in this northeast, because they have proprietary areas. That's kind of the deal we're dealing with this, so there was a federal setup for sole source purchasing. Is there an exception in the policy?
There is an exception for emergencies in the policy. I believe it's on the last page of the policy.
Yeah, well, this, even if you didn't call this an emergency,
Oh, yeah,
it's
this
a sole,
is
it's
an
only one person to buy it from. Because like MES is our air pack supplier. If I want to buy new air packs, that's the only place I can buy it. No other dealer is allowed to sell us an air pack.
I think,
That's how they divvy up their territory. So I know the feds let us have an exemption for that.
I think if we did due diligence, and I'm pretty certain that this is a single manufacturer, and that they pretty much sell them, they manufacture them and they sell them. So I don't think we would find anything that we could use on the Cat, and it's made specifically for a Caterpillar bucket loader.
For the quick attach.
And our bucket loader's set up for it. You gotta run 30 gallons of hydraulic oil in it.
Yeah.
So it would be a matter of just getting Cat to come up and program the hydraulic pump to take care of the mowing machine.
Right. So, but we could, just to make sure that we keep the auditors happy, which we want to do, we could look into this and see if there are other options. I don't think there is, but if there isn't.
That's why I was actually some kind of exception. I just didn't know.
Right. If
It's
there,
not only to keep the auditors happy, the citizens too would be.
well, that's
Yeah.
true.
We agree.
Tell the taxpayers.
I'm just being facetious.
And like I said earlier, I'm not for the town borrowing a lot of money where you're gonna pay interest on it, because
Right.
that's like feeding a dead horse.
Yeah. So there is a kind of a middle way here. We could work out an arrangement with a bank. I'll say the Union Bank, but we could make an arrangement where we take a certain amount from our reserve funds, and then the loan payments would pretty much equal what we
If we did have.
pay in rent. Right, yeah.
I would think that would be. the way
That
to
seems
go.
reasonable.
Yeah.
'Cause
The
that
other
cuts
thing,
down the interest and the term on things.
the other thing that we could do is we could spend the money outright from our reserve funds, and then make a commitment to put the money that we would have been paying in rent for a tractor back into the reserve fund. So we aren't dealing with a bank, we aren't dealing with interest, but we are kind of paying back the reserve fund that we've borrowed from each year.
That's the only way I've ever been able to have anything is.
Mm-hmm.
Do something like that.
And I'm okay with that, too. My preference is not to borrow, but if we had to, we'd have to.
Okay. Well, what about the idea of paying the money that we would be paying, a yearly
We would
payment?
add that into what we're adding into the reserve.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So we'd be
Just
paying
pay
back
for it
the
outright.
reserve.
Because then we pay zero interest, and we're paying ourselves.
Well, if you're talking, I heard you say that you we're putting $90,000 a year into the reserve fund, is that?
No,
what you-
no, we have $90,000 budgeted each year for town highway equipment.
Oh, and so that,
And, and right at the moment, we're paying for the bucket loader and we're paying for the low pro truck. So that takes a chunk out of that. And then, so whatever remains from what we aren't paying out for equipment, that goes into it's a capital equipment reserve fund. So this year, we're paying, as I mentioned before, we're paying for the $26,000 plus for the low pro and about $7,000 for the bucket loader. And I think we have one more year to finish paying for the bucket loader. So this year we're putting $56,623 into that capital equipment reserve fund. So, and each.
Our goal has been to get these loans paid off and then put the whole 90 in the
Right.
equipment reserve so we can pay cash for stuff.
And then the Swenson,
Well,
there's,
you can do it when they start paying interest.
right. So Diana?
just a reminder that one nice thing about the Highway Equipment Reserve Fund is you put the money in there, you don't need special voter approval. To,
I'm a big fan of
to spend it. Whereas if you're just going out to borrow $50,000, you might need voter approval.
Right.
Because at the end of last fiscal year, there was only $500 left in the highway from overspending in items. So just because there's that item line for $56,000 doesn't mean that all that money's going to be there if we go over budget on the highway.
That's correct, yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, but isn't this a reserve fund? How, if it's labeled as a reserve fund, how are we using general highway budget money it's designated for that? That shouldn't happen.
That's an item line. The fund hasn't been created.
Oh.
This is just
The-
expense in the budget.
Right, the HER fund is officially
This was
created.
the remainder of the money.
But
I am saying-
it is a part of the fiscal year 21 budget, so I would assume that, which is
Yes,
the
it's
year,
factored in the tax rate.
yeah, so that's the year that we're in right now,
But
so.
I am saying, even though we did get that money back, the refund from that truck in the accident, I am saying that there was only $500 left
Oh,
in the
so-
highway
So that money has been spent then?
because there was at least 20 item lines in the highway that were over budget.
Okay.
Yeah. So the money from the 4,900 has been spent, and we just spent it again.
That's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out at the end of next year. I know how this works. Because we're up against the wall with either fixing that truck or buying another truck, which the lesser of two evils is gonna be the smaller number.
For instance, right now, we had budgeted 3,500 on culverts alone, we're at 31,8740. So we're almost over budget on that item line.
Well, a lot of culverts are getting put in.
There's been a lot of culverts put in, and
We
there was
went
two
over.
more up in West Woodbury this last week, and that 2x3 to go on Cranberry Meadow Road is coming right in, so
Yeah.
we're probably knocking on the door.
Yeah. Well, last year, we had budgeted for 3,500 again, and we spent
Yeah,
$9,972.
we spend a lot of money on culverts.
So we gotta refigure, and then we'll have to create an item line if this item is purchased for repairs to make sure that that expense is factored in also.
So let's try to, I mean, we don't have to make a decision about this tonight. Let's just make a decision on how we're going to proceed here. So it sounds like we should at least see if there's other options for purchasing this piece of equipment. And then it does sound like we would prefer to use our reserve funds and
I
not
think
go
for
with a
now,
loan. Okay.
because that always leaves us the option of borrowing in the future if we run short.
Yeah.
If we have to do it.
Okay, so for tonight, let's plan on, and for going forward, let's plan on just looking into whether there are other places to purchase this, something similar, or this, and we're
Yeah,
going,
I'll look into it.
okay, and we'll assume, I mean,
I think we're all kind of on
we're in
board.
agreement, I think,
Yeah.
that we're gonna use our reserve funds.
And
not-
we're in support of this item, I think. It's
Yeah,
just a matter of
we're
how
in
we do
support
it.
of purchasing it. Does that sound
But it's
good?
not-
We don't have to vote on this, but if we're kind of an agreement on how we're gonna
Yeah,
proceed.
as long as there's sort of a consensus that.
There is,
I think everybody's nodding their heads.
yeah, I think there's consensus, at least
We
among the
just find out
select
if there's other
board.
places we could buy it or a similar item.
Yeah,
We've done anything in 12 years, another 2 weeks.
Ain't gonna have to start.
no, and we, yeah. Okay, so I know Greg Parkhurst is pretty good at looking online for stuff, and, you know, you and he can kind of see
We'll
see
get
what,
together and we'll do something.
okay, just see.
For next meeting, I'll try to have something lined up.
Okay, right, and if there isn't anything, then we'll just go with, you know,
Yeah, I'm okay with if that's the only vendor.
no. That's
Yeah,
my,
I don't know.
I don't know
We can twist
either.
their arm too.
To tell you the truth, I was very impressed with this machine. I watched a video on it.
Yeah, I was too.
And
Right.
the way it operates and everything, and I was
Yeah.
very impressed with it.
Yeah. We should connect Skip with that video. He might be impressed too.
We should.
We'll send you out on it.
The only add-on there was a second set of teeth,
Yeah,
so we could send them out and have them hard-faced before we even put them on. So that after we got them back, we'd take the ones that were on it off, put the ones that are hard-faced on it, and get the other ones hard-faced. They should last 10 years. But
Okay.
so any other questions about the mower brush cutter? It sounds like we've got a plan for moving forward and,
Just one thing.
okay.
Operation, do we have, right now, we probably have people who can operate it. Is that something we can count on always having? Or-
You teach them, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
they don't have to be good at it.
Well, everything's gotta
I
learn.
mean, you have to learn how to use the tool,
Yeah.
but,
There's only one way really to learn stuff like this, so you gotta go out and do it.
it's called seat time.
Seat time.
we can practice on somebody's lilac bushes or something.
Yeah, you're gonna get some complaint, you cut my special
You shake
tree.
them down just past the counter, or shake that stick fence down.
There you go. Okay, so village paving update. We can look out the window and
Out the
admire
window, we'll
the.
be able to drive on it tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah,
Contract's all signed, he's supposed to send us the insurance certificate, which I don't have with the bill, so, on the workman's comp, but he has it. And as far as I know, we're within budget, so
okay.
we
So-
found some of that.
Money that did that?
What's that?
That grant money that-
No, that was some of our paving fund money that we'd set aside. It was
No.
pretty bad, a lot of that only had 2 inches of pavement on it, and we were driving them heavy trucks. It was torn up terrible.
No, the paving grants are pretty much for class 2
Yeah, yeah.
roads. So this is kind of a private,
It's too bad we weren't ready to go and this other one had the money, because he would have done, we got a really good price.
Well, we
Really
first-
Same thing, but if you found out any more about replacing that.
Well, that's on the list too. You know, we weren't ready to do this, but he would have done it for
we
the
couldn't
same-
afford to, we don't
No,
have.
no, we would have the
spent
same-
all of our paving fund money on this.
Well, we still have 12,000.
Yeah, but.
He
this-
would have done another, it was still done it for the same tonnage price, which you got a good tonnage, it was $111 a ton in place, so.
I mean, our original estimate for this from Pike was $20,000.
Right, he only figured 200 tons.
Yeah.
So he didn't figure all of it,
Yeah.
apparently, because apparently I know how to do math, because he said I hit the number perfect with the pavement amount, so. Can teach me something, I
So-
guess.
Yeah, so we're,
So we're
Yeah.
good there, I think. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll be driving on it and everybody will be all smiles. The water drains off, there's no puddles.
Yeah, is the ramp back?
Not yet. I'd like to leave it off for a while so it doesn't sink into the wet or hot
Is
pavement.
that part of their contract?
No, we took the railings down and we gotta put the ramp and railings back on. And then we've got, like Chuck said, there's got work the town crew's gotta do the state wants that channel taken out and we're supposed to make that so water runs across the grass back there. and
the
not-
swale?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted it leveled. I knew
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah, we didn't get it totally level because of the way the grades are. They put, what, 7 10-wheel loads in there. It's a lot different than it was.
Yeah, it isn't as deep.
Yeah, I talked to Greg about it today.
Get that all mowable and clean.
Wednesday or Thursday next week, after it's set up good. I told him we'd probably have to go out and get, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 yards of topsoil out the gravels and
Clean it up. yeah.
shape it up and get it where it's mowable and get it hydro seeded.
Okay. Should we
I
have,
think we should put some gating stone on the end down there
Just to catch
to
anything.
slow the water down.
And I think that's a good idea to put something to, the water is just gonna rush through there.
Right. And I mean, it's another one of the things that has to happen in town. We've got to get a schedule lined up where they're going to start cleaning these check dams, because it's absolutely useless to put them in if they ain't cleaning.
Right. The ones on Charter Hill that are already,
Full.
Those got to go.
Been my point for 15 years. It's just a never-ending.
so with the swale that exists there now, is it possible to build, or to dig a kind of a stone line collection bin to
Way down by the brook level to stop the water,
Yeah.
stop the silt from going
Right.
into the brook
Yeah,
and let it settle out.
yeah, that's the point, yeah.
So
that
with
would be-
talking to the state from, we were talking about the place across the street, they want
Yeah.
that water to run across grass and then it could hit
Yeah.
that stone.
Right.
Okay,
But I think we can get like 100 feet of grass.
Yep, and then
or
put stone
Close to
in.
100 feet of grass. And then the stone will stop it, let it silt out.
Right,
and
but it's another
like I say,
cleaning,
you gotta get it
it's a
on the
cleaning
schedule.
project, because every year the bucket loader goes and it makes a mess, and then we gotta clean it back out, so it's gotta get on the
from
schedule.
the winter time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The way they run bucket.
Because what happens, it keeps building up and building up, and they need to start every year getting down there and raking that clean, however we do it.
And either, like Charter Hill, either we gotta start getting them onto the schedule or we gotta stop doing it. I mean, there's no sense of putting stone in and getting it blocked up and having it full and running out the road and washing the road out to get into the culvert. We either gotta clean them or stop doing it.
yeah.
And they're all over the place. I mean,
Yeah,
not
that's,
just there.
that's what the state requires now.
Well, I'm gonna get that.
Okay,
They
well-
have requirements, but some of them are structurally.
It doesn't, does seem impractical, I agree with you,
Yeah.
but that is what the state, those are the requirements the state has.
Some of it is applied incorrectly, is what.
Uh-huh.
But
That's neither here nor there either. We either gotta clean them or not use them.
Right, correct.
Right,
That's bottom line.
okay. All
if
right.
you got them, you gotta use it.
Or get rid of them.
So the next item on the town highway report, I know Chuck is chomping at the bit to do the annex building and the school entryway, the driveway in, but we, I'm just wondering if we should just say, thank you to the Ruggles Design.
Well, we can. He emailed me back in early July and hadn't got to it. COVID messed him up, and he said he would do it this month. He's not gonna charge us anything if we back out. I think what Chuck's planning to do is not gonna impact what this fellow was gonna do. I mean, I'll live with whatever everybody decides. In the future, we're planning eventually to pave that road. We're
Right.
going to need a design
Yeah,
before we do that.
Yeah.
And so whether we, as long as what they're gonna do now, in my opinion, doesn't adversely affect that.
can we give this guy a deadline?
Yeah, what I just emailed him today, and I told him, I said, if we ain't got this by the end of August, then don't bother. He's not gonna charge it. He did all the site work already. He's done all the survey, site work. He just hasn't, it's all computer plotted. We haven't got a drawing yet.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have the school driveway done before school starts.
Yeah.
It would be, because it ain't gonna be fun working up there around buses and schools and kids and everything else.
Yeah.
So my opinion is let Chuck do the work, 'cause I don't think it's gonna affect this, and we'll
Okay,
get to
well,
it.
yeah,
But I think the four of us should go up and
Yep.
Lynn or
Well,
somebody.
I wonder if this guy could at least look at what we're planning on doing to make sure that it isn't gonna be counter to what he's working on. I mean, I just don't wanna,
Well, no, I was there when he did it. I know what he said,
Yeah.
and what we're going toward is exactly what he wants us to get that water
Yeah.
off the road before
Okay.
it gets down
My
there,
thought is, the parking lot up there now, 80% of it all runs
right down there.
down
right,
that way. When I was a kid and they put that ball field in, there was always a ditch behind the basketball court and the ball field. That needs to be cleaned out, put the driveway above that white rock where the sign is, put the sign down, build a small wall down where the driveway is now out of concrete
Yes.
block. Put that sign down there.
okay. And there, there is also work being done for these erosion mitigation devices, and one of the plans is to put a kind of a wetland along this ditch that you're talking about on the backside
let
of the
the water
ball
go in
field
there.
and the tennis courts or whatever they're all. that would collect that water in a wetland kind of a erosion thing, and then it would continue to drain down to the culverts that go underneath the driveway. So that's another thing that's in the
I don't
works.
think it all go that way.
Uh-huh, yep,
The ditch is all there, you need to cut the brush and clean the ditch. And 90% of the driveway, it's gonna go that way anyway.
yep,
Right, and that would keep a large load of water. And that's what the
Yeah.
engineer in his drawing is suggesting, getting those driveways so they're not draining this direction.
The only way you're gonna cure it, if you're gonna come this way, put in a catch basin.
Right, which yeah,
And,
right.
but the other way, but the other thing you wanna remember is when you go the other way, you got two water lines in there.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be
Well,
that deep.
you wanna,
Behold,
grade goes deep. So,
Well,
and the one that goes across the road over there isn't very deep.
no.
I put the
But-
school in there.
so it might make sense just to have a short site visit up there. I can call this guy.
well, I know Du Bois and King is gonna be here too, maybe next week. It would be, there are all these different kind of planning things that are going on, and then we're doing stuff without the knowledge of what those are.
Well,
So
That was part of the holdup over here, I thought that.
Right, I've
we
been
were
waiting
gonna
for
meet
this.
with an engineer, and then all of a sudden we didn't.
He's held it, well, we did, but he's never gotten it done.
Right.
The
Yeah.
problem is, we're still flooding over there, and that got to be
Yeah.
fixed.
Yeah.
Whether we get an engineer, and the only reason
Well, if we're-
originally we started this, we were planning to pave that.
Right.
That's, my concern is
I don't
we
believe we
don't,
need an engineer.
I don't think we do either, but, I mean, we could
Well,
tell this guy
if we
no.
don't, let's not pay him when we,
Right. I mean, there's only one thing you can count on in this world every time,
Water goes down.
and that's gravity.
So if
Right.
we're in agreement, I'll just tell him not to bother. He said, that was my report, was I talked to him, and he says if we don't want him to finish, he'll stop, he's not gonna charge us anything.
okay.
That's the consensus.
Well, I guess it depends on how long we want to wait to do the work. If he's not going to have a report till the end of August, school starts September 8th.
And I would like to have that new
I think we need to
driveway
get
in
it
there,
done.
on the backside of that ball field ditch by then.
Uh-huh, yeah,
I mean, I know there's been some consternation over the work I did to get the water to stop running in the building, so for some,
uh-huh.
Yeah, but that's all over town.
yeah.
Diana?
Is there grant money involved in this work you were gonna have done over here for the last, that you've been talking about?
We applied for a grant, a Better Roads grant for the work, and that's what the design was a part of. But with the pandemic, I've emailed the Better Roads people a number of times, have never heard back. The application that we put in, there was supposed to be a decision in May. I haven't heard a thing, so I'm assuming that there just isn't any money. And
So if you were applying for a grant, getting an engineer might have been a requirement, but if you're not gonna get the
We're not
grant,
getting the
then.
grant.
Right.
Plus, we've been talking about this for 5 or 6 years.
yeah,
These guys
this
do
has been a
something.
long-going
We've been getting
subject.
flooded, and we're still getting flooded.
There is a grant that's being enacted right now for the design of these erosion mitigation devices. There's 4 of them planned for the village.
That's separate from.
One will be behind the annex building, and that was to work with school parking lot and Valley Lake Road and stuff that came down the hill. There's another one that's going to go between the fire station and the post office to deal with stuff that's flowing down from the highway, and then
That's like a big tank that,
it's a big tank, yeah,
you know what those.
yeah,
I just put in
Yeah.
two of them, and I'm telling you right now,
uh-huh.
a lot of money, they don't work.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get a back truck to clean them.
Cost a lot to clean.
I'll give you some a perspective of what's happened at the annex with that road. When I put that foundation in, I put the foundation in 10 inches higher than the
Right, the
road.
road keeps coming up.
So I can't remember what year I did that.
That was 91 or 2, somewhere in that
Today.
neighborhood, 3.
We just bought our panels, Dean and I put the foundation,
Yeah.
1980.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what's happened in that amount of time.
Right, 'cause we used to drive
Gives you
down
an
that.
idea, it gives you an idea of what.
Well, we need to again, it's just a matter of getting some equipment over here and getting it peeled down
Okay.
and getting the water.
I know when we dug the test holes over there, there's places just 5 feet of gravel, of crusher run gravel.
I got Grizzly over there one day, and above the school driveway, we tipped the road. So anything coming down Valley Lake Road or off that other driveway now, get into the ditch by running the imaging on the other side of the road and goes into the brook that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what the engineer was saying too, same
Yeah.
exact thing. it's all
Yeah.
pretty simple
So,
stuff.
so let's try to wrap this up, because
Yep.
it's getting late, and we've got still quite a bit to do. So what do we want to do here? Do we want to, obviously we want to do the work, and I'm fine with having the work, done the way Chuck thinks it
Me
would
too.
work, and then we could still have this guy work on a design.
Yeah, what I think I'm gonna tell him is he can't get us something by the end of August, but
Okay.
don't hold Chuck up, just let him do it.
Yeah,
Because everything he's talking about is the same thing this engineer's gonna tell you to do.
yeah.
My only idea with this engineer was before we pave it, we gotta make sure the road grades are where we want them.
Well, yeah.
Which is how many years from now?
I don't even want to be involved in that.
Right.
Okay.
We'll put the
Well,
grades where they need to be.
And just so that you know, the sobering thing with the paving is that before we pave it, we've got to replace the
Right, so
culvert.
that's another problem.
And,
Culvert bad.
When
That could be a few years down the road for
when
that.
Shauna Clifford and Patrick Ross came here, they both said, "Oh, this has got to be replaced." Shauna said, "Well, there's a V-Trans grant for this." And she was going to send it to me, and then she sent me an email saying there's no money for this grant this year. It's not a possibility. This would be just for the design, and then we would go out for a grant to pay for, it would be replaced with the box culvert like we did on near Nelson Pond. So that's got to happen before we even
Correct.
consider paving it. And,
So we're not in a rush.
and it'll allow us to build up our paving fund again, because, we tried to get Class 2 classification for that road a few years ago, and the state wouldn't give it to us because it's not a through road. So we would have to pay for the paving that we want to do there ourselves, and it would probably be a similar price tag to what we paid for here in
That'd
the
be, you're
village.
looking at what they gave us, it'd be another, somewhere between 12 and 16,000
Yeah,
pavement for what's left to pave up there at the price he just gave us.
yeah. So it's a few years down the road. And in the meantime, maybe there would be a Better Roads grant that would
For
allow us to
collapses.
do work from the design, to implement that work.
So I see a good, tell Chuck, go ahead,
Yeah,
do it.
so I'm in agreement with that. So, do what you feel needs to be done, the way you feel it needs
Well,
to be
Greg and I have
done.
talked about it quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we're both pretty much in agreement that most of the water can go that way.
Okay, all right.
And that'll keep it away from the brook, should keep state happy.
And if the design is done, that is another feather in our cap in
Right,
the
we
grant
can
application.
use in the grant,
for the-
here's what we need to do.
Yeah, so I used the work that for the survey for these erosion basins, because they did some
Yep.
of that thinking also, so I used that with this grant, but,
Keep that out enough so the cold water doesn't come across and stay.
Okay.
in a certain road in that culvert.
The only thing that won't come across the road is where the driveway is now. You don't want to put a concrete block wall across there. Leave that culvert that's there to catch that little bit and put it down by the annex, but it's gonna be minimal.
okay. So, can we move on? Shall we move on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so town treasurer's report.
See you, Lynn.
So over the last 2 weeks, out of our cash receipts, we've taken in $3,109. That is access permits, that is for recordings, dog licenses, prepaid taxes, vault fees, zoning permits. For delinquencies, we have taken in $5,025.28. As far as direct deposits, I've been emailing Swenson back and forth. Their computers had crashed, so she had to recalculate, and we just received money that was from last quarter of last fiscal year. So that was $3,212.68. We received also from the state property tax adjustments of $2,475.55, and a summer reading grant for the library of $200.
The payment from Swenson, is that lower than the other quarterly payments? It seems kind of low.
So for the last quarter, they had given us $2,475.55. and something. And even I thought that was extremely low. And I emailed her and wasn't hearing anything back over 2 months. And then she wrote back because I wanted the cubic square so I can put it in my Excel spreadsheet for the town report. And she said there was a glitch. We lost all of March data. And so eventually she got back to me and said, this is what we owe you still. So it was around 5,000.
I know they were shut down for an accident for a while.
But yeah, that is usually, typically it's been 10,000 a quarter, at least. So it was brought to my attention, in statute on the VLCT website, there is a chart of incompatible offices. I, as the town treasurer, cannot be on a trustee board, and I cannot be the library president. And therefore, I am resigning. I'm resigning. Elizabeth Hansen has agreed to take my spot and finish out my term as long as the board appoints her. We also have another person that, and I can let her speak, but it's also willing to fill another spot that is opened.
Yes, I am the other.
That's what I
So what?
from the direction.
Your other.
That chart also states that an auditor cannot be a library trustee.
Which job do you prefer? I feel eyes burning. I feel a hole being burned in the back of my
So it
bone.
sounds like Robin isn't eligible to do that then, even though she would like to.
So Elizabeth Hansen and Sarah Van Hoff are both willing to fill those spots.
Okay.
So I promise you, the library will not be neglected. We have great people who are filling our shoes.
So the select board would be making appointments for these
Just to
two
finish
people,
off this
finish out their term.
And then they'd be elected,
And
okay.
then at
Okay.
town meeting, our spots will have to be.
Right, 'cause we found out when the resignation occurs, at the next possible election date, they
Okay.
get
So would either of you like to?
I'll make the motion for, what was the name?
Right there on that
Oh,
piece of
Elizabeth
paper.
Hansen and.
Sarah something or other.
Van Hoff.
Sarah Van Hoff
I couldn't read it without my
as
glasses.
library trustees.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Be an easy button for that.
Okay.
Moving on to the tax rate. Dun, dun, dun.
Da-da-dum.
Good stuff. So, as long as we are using the HERF money to buy this hypothetically and not increasing anything, we will be going down. And everybody has their charts? You two have yours? Ta-da! Nope, that's the education, and I apologize, the education went up 11 cents.
Not our fault, yeah.
Not our fault. Our tax rate is going to be 0.533.
What was that?
0.533.
What was it last year?
0.561.
It's right on the chart.
Okay. Oh, sorry, good job. For all of us, yay, for all of us.
I don't get to give good news very often.
So is the select board supposed to, I know I've done this a number of years, but do we officially
We have to set the tax rate.
set the tax
So
rate?
I had handed out information, Ron gave you the grand list total in that Excel spreadsheet that's underneath Michael. Nope, the bottom on your left hand. So that has the grand total, the grand list total that Ron gave me. I plugged that in, and then you have the expenses from the highway, you have the revenue offsets, the government expenses, the government revenue, giving us the tax rate of 0.533.
So how do you need the,
Somebody needs to make a motion to adopt
It's your
or
turn, Brian.
approve that tax rate, and then I can print bills on Friday.
Right, make the motion to approve a tax rate of .533 for the town.
.43.
Point,
0.53.
533.
right?
No, it's 533.43, is what I said, right? Or it's 533.43.
That's tax.
Oh, okay, I got you, never mind, don't listen to me.
That would really be an increase.
That'd be
Do it.
scary.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Lower's better, so we're good. Perfect.
Okay, anything else from the,
I did not have to do a transfer since we received the deposits for this AP run. Direct deposits have been going great. Everybody's been getting their money. So yeah,
Have we switched to the automatic computer pay sheets? Are they working on
the
that?
training happened last
Okay, I
week.
saw that, yeah, the shine sheet.
so this week is the true, Greg has it set up so that.
First week.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
I just didn't know where we were. I knew they'd done the training. I saw that. I saw the sheet. I just didn't know when it was actually going to go live.
So eventually, and even Skip Lindsay gave me his auditor's timesheet on one of those.
Perfect.
And it wouldn't be a bad idea for me to start, or as long as I don't have anybody to kick me and flailing too much, but go into that setup.
Okay,
Seems like a good way to go.
It's
so I
very
should do that too, probably.
straightforward. It's in,
Just have him make time sheets for everybody that puts in time sheets.
it's on an Excel spreadsheet. We can pull up any history, how long something took.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's going to be my next step for once the tax bills are done.
Anything else? Any questions for Brandy?
So I started an Excel spreadsheet on what a third full-time
Okay, great.
employee will look like. I estimated
Yeah, that's
I
like.
estimated payroll as being $20 an hour, because you have Greg that's at 25, you have Greg Adams that's at 21 something, so I just wanted to
Somewhere in the middle, yeah.
ish. But yeah, there's a lot of play. I mean, if they want to take, depending on how they want everything. If it's just going to be a single, a double, or a family, but everything's
For
in the
the
spreadsheet.
insurance, right.
Right, so I will get it down to, it's almost finalized. I will bounce it to all of you, and then it can,
Okay,
so you can
So
see
we
the
can start
numbers
looking
for
at
next.
next year's budget pretty soon.
right.
Next.
Yeah, in a couple months. Yeah. But we could, if we have the figures and we do feel that this is the way to go, we can, have some discussion about
Correct.
that
Right, have something.
beforehand and then figure out when we would start that. Okay, great. Thank you for doing that, Randy. Anything else at all? No? Okay.
That's it.
Diana, Town Clerk, report?
Well, there was a primary that took up most of my time the last couple of weeks. The transition, I heard about the paving the middle of last week, and I said, I don't want to be hauling my ballot boxes and stuff from across the street, so I brought my heavy stuff down here on Friday night. And then by Sunday night, I was bringing it back. When we decided it really wasn't going to work to try to do this here with the paving going on. So the transition was pretty smooth. Nobody had a problem finding us. I made a sign for out here, and after we can drive on this, so somebody will pick it up and bring it back. And also the ballot box is still here. So the turnout was 313 out of 721 on the checklist. That's 43%. That's very high for a primary. There were 206 something absentee ballots requested, and all but about 20 of them were returned. And we had over 100 people walk in and vote during the day. And 189 Democrat ballots and 124 Republican ballots were cast. I can't tell you, well, I could tell you who got.
You don't want to.
It doesn't really matter. It was not a very exciting primary. But then 7 o'clock we came down here. Michael came down early and set up the tables, and we had like 7 or 8 different teams counting. 4 of them were totally new, 4 of the couples were totally new, and there were Mike and Ellie and Susan and Bob, you know, veterans who've done it before, and Bill and Jane. But anyways, it went very smoothly. It was incredibly tedious because every vote has to be counted on a tally sheet, and then the tally sheets have to be put on a summary sheet, and Natalia Zahn stayed and read those to me while Sarah Barton stood there with her phone with shining the light so I could see what was going on.
Get her LED guy.
There you go. Next time. Well, anyways, and then Jane Noel Gorendo came down with me to add up one final time and input the information into the Secretary of State's website and the program, and we finally were out of there about 10:30. So, yeah, that went well. Everybody worked hard on the counting, and it might be our last hand count election because the Board of Civil Authority convinced me to ask for a voting machine, and the Secretary of State's office has one for us. I think they're giving it to us. In the future, I mean, there is a cost every time you use it for an election. You have to pay, I don't know, several $100s, and they send you a special chip for that particular election. And hopefully there's not going to be a big, huge thing that we have to store in the vault because we don't have much room in the vault. But
If they have that, then you don't have to have all the counting at the end. It's just tallied
that's
up on the
right.
sheet.
That's exactly right. Yeah, stick the ballots in as they come in, as people vote. There was a picture in the paper today of them doing it at the BOR in Barry. People were driving through and sticking their ballots into the machine. So we'll come into the 21st century.
Modern era.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
At least the 20th century.
Yeah, right. So I noticed in the minutes that at the last meeting I said I would call that person from Cabot that
For the stream rescue.
Peter had recommended about the stream, and I didn't because it's just been
That's
too
okay.
busy. I did get out this estimate that we got from Grenier Engineering, from the engineer that we hired to help us with the FEMA project, and he estimated just the design work alone was going to be $27,000. And he estimated that he suggests you carry $50,000 to $75,000 for the stream restoration work. So that's just one estimate. Another thought I had, I'll call that guy, but another thought I had was the Winooski Conservation District is always going around rehabilitating stream banks that have eroded. So maybe we should just plant some, willows in those eroded areas and let it become natural. So anyway.
That'd be natural.
Huh?
That would be natural. The brook would be plugged in.
The beaver will move.
I couldn't hear that part.
He said it would be natural, the work would be plugged again with willows.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I know somebody who could ask about that. That is a pretty big organization. I don't know if they'd worry so much. I mean, we are part of the Winooski River Basin, but I know somebody that I can ask to at least find out if there is something that they would be interested in. Anything else, Diana, at all?
That's all I can think of.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So, on to the Woodbury Elementary School. I got an email from Brittany Curie, who is part of the supervisory union, the OSSU. She is the financial manager, and she's also in charge of the maintenance of the buildings. I originally talked to her about the school lease. She sent me an email letting me know that the hot water tank at the school, apparently it blew out, it kind of flooded, so it needs to be replaced. Larry Eldred is the one that discovered it, and he's looked into what it would cost to replace it. He has an estimate of about $1,500. In the lease that we have with the Union School District, the town is responsible for any replacements in the building. So technically, by that lease, for this fiscal year, it's under the town's dime to fix it.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like we gotta do it.
Yeah. So we could, a scenario that Brittany Curie offered is that they would hire the person, fix it, and then they would send us the bill.
If Larry's in charge of
And
it,
Larry would be overseeing it.
fine
Yeah.
with that.
Yep. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll let her
It's one
know.
of those we don't have a choice issue.
You don't have a choice. No. So, moving on to, we are also ready to begin, not ready, but we're doing the planning of renegotiating the lease for the school. It may be just a one-year lease this time. We haven't even gotten that far, but I do have, I sent some emails out to people in town, and I'll name their names. Norm Etkin, Patrick Flood, Larry Eldred, and they are willing to be part of a committee where we can get together and figure out what the town's proposal will be for a lease and I'm not sure if we're going to be negotiating with the actual school district board or whether it's the OSSU. It's probably going to be both. That seemed to be the way it was when we negotiated before. Paul, if you have the time and are interested in being
Yeah, it
on
depends on how many meetings, but I'm certainly willing
Yeah.
to look
Yeah.
into it, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. As long as we're at night, I'm not doing something else.
Okay, so Norman gave me
Which is not
some
recommended.
marching orders on what to ask for information from the supervisory union. So I emailed that to Brittany Curie, and then she called me up and she said, I'm really busy right now getting people trained for the beginning of the school year. I don't
Glad I'm
have,
not her.
yeah, she doesn't really have time to do much about this until school starts in September. I'm hoping the information should be all kind of printed out. It's public information. I should be able, what Norman wants is what the actual school budget was for the Woodbury school, as far as maintenance and internal costs. And he wants also that same information for Lakeview and the Hardwick Elementary School and what type of reserve fund that they have. Because right now, we do not have a reserve fund for the Woodbury Elementary School.
So we would have to start budgeting for
We would have to, yeah, so,
expenses out of the lease
Yeah.
that they're paying, so that new lease has to match up to what
Yeah.
it's costing us to have it.
yeah, yes, Brandon?
So we do have the Woodbury School Building Fund,
We do have some money,
and there's 11,000.
so we got money to pay
So
for it.
we can pay for the hot
But again,
water.
looking at the new lease, we gotta make sure we're keeping
Yeah,
money in
so
that
that's
fund.
part of what we gotta figure out. I know there's a per foot kind of formula.
Well, yeah, I know, one of the big discussions was we didn't play this formula out
Right,
because we were trying to keep the cost down during the initial lease. In the second lease, we really gotta follow what Norman's saying, and
Yeah.
it's a business and we gotta operate it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
If we're spending X amount of dollars, that's what the lease has to be, and that has to include capital improvements.
yeah. So, I think we have a good crew to get together and figure this thing out. And once we get that information from the supervisory union, we can start working on that. So that's where that is. Let's see, how are we doing for time here?
We're at 20
20 of 8, okay. So Gary has patiently been coming to these select board meetings for town constable stuff. I think Laura did get him the information that she provided to us. I think and next, Trevor Whipple, who is also part of VLCT and was very helpful in getting information to Laura for her report. And it was suggested by Laura that we try to have him come. He couldn't come to this meeting, but he can come to the next meeting. So I've got him planned for next time. He, has some expertise in the town constable position, and he also has been a presenter for VLCT for training forums that they have for how to make the enforcement part of ordinances and et cetera, that program was highly recommended by the Wolcott person that I spoke to.
So something that he would put on for us.
He could either put it on for us, it is online, there's a printout that Laura has of his presentation for VLCT. It used to be, VLCT would have these trainings and you would go down to Montpelier usually or some other town and there would be presenters, and of course that's not happening right now. So they may have like webinars or whatever that they're doing, but he could come and we could ask him questions about that and he could kind of run us through it. But he might be able to answer for us some of our concerns about enforcement. And that would be either, for the junk ordinance, for any other ordinances or zoning administration that, because I know we all have questions about whether that, that always seems to be the...
Because that has a big impact on whether I support any more ordinances.
Exactly,
creating
right.
stuff we can't do
Yeah.
or can't do, or
Yeah.
don't have the will to do,
Right, yeah. But I thought maybe just tonight for, let's see, it's 20 of, quarter of, I think if we could start generating just some ideas of what we would want a town constable to do. And Gary, if you have ideas of what you would be willing to do, I mean, one of the, I have a list here. And I know we've discussed, we don't want our town constable to do any law enforcement
Police work, right?
that would require police training. So that eliminates a lot of things. We also want to be able to appoint a constable as opposed to electing one.
Correct, which
I
I
think
think we did that already.
Yeah, we're all in agreement with that. So that's how far we've gotten. So the list that Laura put together, to check and verify VIN numbers, I'm not sure why would we...
Well, when you buy a car from out of state,
So you can have it registered with that state
Right.
police department.
right, you either gotta bring the car down to DMV and have them do it, or a state trooper has to do it, so that's something a constable could do.
Okay,
Or verify that the VIN number on the title and the car are the same, and then it gets transferred to Vermont.
okay, is that something we would want our town...
I think it's a good idea, it's not dangerous.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to be checking off things that we on this list. Enforce alcohol laws.
You can't really enforce the law if you don't have the...
Right, so that's an
Right, so that's
enforcement thing.
probably no.
Okay,
Because you don't, drunken parties and stuff, probably not a good idea.
all right, so destroy or impound dogs chasing deer. I mean, we do have an animal control officer. I don't know if that's part of his purview or not.
I think he would be assisting the animal.
Right,
I think in general categories, assisting the animal
Right.
control officer
Okay.
as needed.
what about assisting any other, like the zoning administrator or
Fire warden,
fire warden? Yeah.
'cause that's another thing we need to, we have that burning ordinance, we gotta get the ticket part of that done, which hasn't been ever finished.
So assisting other town officials?
Yeah, probably as a general statement.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to put a check there, but it's basically assisting the animal control officer. Quelling riots. Let's see.
You borrow a fire hose,
When was the last Woodbury riot that we had?
been a while.
All right. Seizing forged or counterfeit notes. seizing illegal, I mean, some of these are
Probably don't want to be seizing stuff
arresting people for treason.
No. for trees.
Wow, what was this put together?
You know, I might
It's a
just,
little outdated probably.
I think I'll just skip over any law enforcement kind of thing. So
It's with our wear of coal.
search for remains of deceased persons that have been dug up and hidden in order, if ordered by a judge.
Yeah, no, we don't, that sounds old too.
Don't want to do that one. Assist in extradition.
Making me laugh now.
Okay, that's enforcement. Assist in enforcing liens and divorce, desertion, and support cases.
You don't want to be, that's sheriff work.
All right. Okay, seize illegal fireworks. That sounds more like an
That's state
enforcement
police.
thing. Report theft and recovery of motor vehicles and boats. That's kind of a state police thing, I think. Transport prisoners, no. Require a citizen to assist them in the execution of certain duties. I don't even know what that one means.
But when you said that being repaired down to the town clerk / church, would that be something that would fall?
Well, that would be more, for that, you would, I mean, the town constable could oversee that, but basically what you need to do for that is call the state police, and then they, like, this is what happened. I called the state police, and they gave me, or the town, permission to have the car towed away. So the town constable could be the
do
person that
that.
would call the state police. Yeah.
So that's a good
Okay.
spot.
All right. And that would be true for, I mean, this was, we assumed it was the town parking lot. There's, you know, it could have been the church parking lot, but like, this could happen also, say there's a property owner or somebody illegally leaves a car, like a junk car, you know.
And we've had people, we've had people leave their car right in front of the firehouse door.
Right,
before.
or, you know, I know there's other places in Woodbury where cars have just been driven as far as they could be driven.
Just stop,
and
yeah.
then they're
Leave.
left.
It happens a lot.
But the property owner could also call the town constable, he could also call the state police, he or she, but, but usually you have to call, and I don't know if the Washington County Sheriff's Department would be able to give an okay or not, but the state police would definitely be okay. Okay. So, request a summons or arrest warrant, no. Traffic control, no. Minor complaints that can be addressed by one person. So if,
I'm not sure what those would be.
well, I've had a few calls about that. Somebody this spring called to complain that their neighbor had, their garbage bags were ripped open and the garbage was
okay.
strewn all over the place. So I went down and knocked on the door and said, I didn't say your neighbor because they didn't want me to let them know that they called to complain about it. But I just, you know, I was sort of acting like the health officer, and I said, you know, could you at some point pick up all the garbage that got spread around by the animals that got into your garbage bags? And that person did that. And then the neighbor called and said, okay, he said, now I can still see the garbage bags, and he hasn't hauled them away, and there's also an old hot water heater.
Here we go.
And that was it for me. I said, I told her, well, you know,
They
you
got
can
someone to
offer,
listen, now they're gonna make you pay.
if it bothers you, you could offer to take it away for your neighbor.
That should end.
I said
That
that very,
ended that.
I said that very nicely, and I had never heard anything else.
Bet you didn't.
Okay, so that's one example, but, so Gary, you know, you're welcome to it. That is something where, and I know there are other instances where I have done something like that, where there's been a complaint about a smell here in the village that I spoke to the person about, you know, things like that. And
Okay, so that, some sense to that
Yeah.
stuff.
So that's, so assisting the health officer would be.
That'd be
another-
close
Yes.
to the same idea as the
Yeah,
health officer.
assisting other town
Yeah.
officials, yeah. And we can make a list of the town officials some point. So minor complaints, I'll put a check there. I didn't hear Gary say no, but, so assist town health officer, check, animal control officer, so here they are. Verify rabies shots and dog bite cases. That's pretty much the animal control officer.
So you're assisting with that, yeah?
Enforce civil ordinances. So again, this would be, you know, whatever ordinance the town has. I don't know if you would be interested in doing that, but I think that would be something that would be appropriate for a town constable. So there would be no enforcing of criminal ordinance, issue warnings and fines, and doing a follow-up. Again, maybe assisting with that.
Because that would be whether what you had for ordinances, because there are warnings and
Exactly.
fines associated with our ordinances we have and potential ordinances.
Destroying dangerous animals, again, assisting the animal control person. Killing injured wildlife in lieu of a game warden. That's,
I've done that job
I've done
already.
that. I've
I've
done
been
that
called
also.
twice to put down deer and
yeah, okay.
as the fire chief.
Serve as a,
gun? Can you go shoot a deer under? Sure.
serve as a district court officer? Well,
We have
Washington
one in
County
Washington district, yeah.
and Barry, that would be something, okay. I don't, remove disorderly people from town meeting?
That'd be the... That never happens, does it?
So being a first responder, state police are far out, no, don't want you in that, getting involved with that. Report issues to the state police.
That's good, yeah.
That would be a good one, yeah. Transport juveniles, mental patients?
No.
No. Collecting delinquent taxes if there is no tax collector or upon the request of said collector.
Again, I think would fall under assisting the
Yeah.
public official.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty much it for, the others that are listed here are if a constable has law enforcement. So, I'll make up a list from what we've gone over
Have
tonight.
you got anything on your list that wasn't on his list?
No, I was just going for stuff.
Keep track of it, yeah.
As you said, a certain thing, so.
Okay. Is there anything else that you have thoughts of that a town constable could perform?
No, it pretty much covers a good,
Okay.
See, a lot of that's kind of a good idea because it takes some of it off our plate because we're all
Right.
running around crazy with some of
Yep.
this stuff.
Yep. And if we get a call, we can pass it on to you or help you with it or whatever.
What about things like welfare checks on like somebody who might be sick or elderly or something, so the state police wouldn't have to drive all the way out here just to check in on, you know,
I guess we,
ask town relatives or something called.
Yeah, they do it quite often. The police
I've
do
heard
it.
of that.
The police do it.
Different constables having somebody just drive by and see what's going on.
Yeah, bang on the door and say, see if anybody's laying in the yard, if you see them laying down in the window.
so in that situation, would the state police call to ask for assistance, or how does a person know that?
Usually the call would go to 911 when they get
State
those.
police usually call the constable if they don't have anybody, they'll.
Right.
Okay,
So that, I mean, I think that's not a bad thing if you feel it's not, we get it with the ambulance or the fire department once in a while. You just look around the property, look in the window. If you don't see anybody, then leave, but
okay, all right, so,
too many
Check
times I
them
find
out.
somebody laying on the floor.
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll go through and create a list, kind of a, sort of a quasi job description, I guess, and then, think of things that you might like to ask this fellow Trevor Whipple, and we'll have some questions about enforcement of, ordinances, et cetera,
Yeah, and all that enforcement's gonna be in lieu of whatever the rewrite ordinances are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a particular procedure, I mean, that's why I was asking Mike McGlynn to write a letter of complaint. That's usually the first step.
Right, so you know what the complaint is.
Yes, yeah, and it's written,
It makes it more official because some people may just walk in your door and say, hey, you got a problem over here.
right,
And I
And
have
kind of
a
throw it
similar
in your
thing
plate.
at work. I
It's
tell
better
people,
if
if you're
it's-
gonna complain, I need a written complaint. That way I officially complain and it's not a he said, she
Right.
said. at some
exactly.
point.
That's the thing that, if it did go to a court
Right, what was the
proceeding, if
complaint?
there's nothing in writing, they just throw the thing right out.
Where does those files get kept?
Well, I gave the I mean, Mike wrote a thing on a little piece of scrap paper, and I gave it to Diana. I assume that she notified Bob Martin of the complaint, but I haven't checked it up on that to know.
That's definitely something we should have, that.
Yeah, there should be a file at the town office, yep.
Yeah, any kind of report like that.
And really, I think, you know, if it's the zoning administrator that's dealing with it, or whoever is in charge of
Should
enforcing
go in
whatever.
the zoning file,
ordinance, yeah,
or any of these other ordinances, we're gonna have to create files for this.
yeah. Well, the zoning administrator should create a file. if
But I
he's-
mean, may have a junk ordinance, we got a burning ordinance.
Yes,
you're gonna have to
exactly, yeah.
keep files for this stuff,
Yep,
which I assume we'll keep at the town office.
yes, that would be the proper place for it. Okay. Any other questions about anything?
Sounds like a good start, we'll talk to Trevor,
Yeah.
Trevor next time.
Yep. So briefly, let's see, yeah, it's almost 8 o'clock. So my thoughts on the junk ordinance, actually a couple of things. What I've done is I have the VLCT copy and the Woolcock copy, and the Woolcock pretty much worked with the template that VLCT sent and made a few minor changes which made sense to add to the Woodbury one. And I've been battling with the word form that the VLCT ordinance is in. It would let me make the changes but not get rid of all the crossing out and the new words. And then I finally figured out how to do that this afternoon. I went through the whole thing, you know, it was like 4:30, I gotta be here at 5. And I went to I was gonna print out 3
Printer
copies.
crashed.
I went to save it, and it should have saved it. It's somewhere in my computer,
You just gotta go
hopefully.
find it now.
But what came up in the save thing was the one that I originally started to edit with all the.
You started to lose your mind
So
after
I started to
for
lose my
hours.
mind. Yes, where the hell is this thing?
It's in there somewhere.
So I'll find it and I will send it to you guys. Personally for me, when we do have these situations in town, for me, I found the best results is to call the enforcement and compliance at ANR, and that seems to get results. Whether the town, but people have requested this junk ordinance. I sort of feel duty bound that we go through the process. I'll have a draft, we can put it on the website, I'll kind of consult with Laura how we can maybe get comments on it. That could be a first form of a hearing. And then what I'd like us to do is figure out how to do another more formal public hearing where people could actually come. I mean, we would have to do it here. And then to have the town make a decision on whether they really want this thing or not, because I'm sure there are differences of opinion at town meeting that would.
Because I'd rather see the public vote on these
Yes,
ordinances.
I don't want the select board to have to make that decision. I think, we can do due diligence and have
Get it ready.
an initial, get it out into the public, allow for comments to be made, and then we could have a public hearing where people would come, and we could take notes and then have a discussion at town meeting, pros and cons, and if more people want it than not, then we'll have a junk ordinance.
Then it's not just the three of us making that
Exactly,
decision.
yeah. I mean, I can see either side of the coin on this, and there is a lot of junk in town, but that's part of
being here.
when you get out in the rural areas,
It's survival sometimes.
people need to hang on to things, or they think they do anyway. I mean, I'm the same way. If you looked in my attic or out behind my house. So that's kind of my thinking on the process for this. And hopefully I'll find that draft that I did over the last couple of days in my computer somewhere, and I'll send it out, and they'll probably have Laura post it on the website, and we can figure out a way for people to comment through the website.
We do have that forum, with NC where people could join up and discuss
Right.
other topics, so
Yep.
if we publicize that, put it in there.
Yep. So, and then we can access it to see what.
Yep.
So just a quick update on the Old Quarry Road spur hearing. So our town lawyer, Mike Tarrant, went to the hearing. He said the select board
It
members...
was a status hearing, right?
It was a status hearing, just trying to get things started. So there are two ways that we could go. And Coleman Parker was there. He doesn't have a lawyer. So there are two options that we have. One is, in these particular types of hearings, is one of them is to have appointed a group of commissioners. It's usually 3 people. They could be, usually, in these situations, they're real estate people, landowners, but it could be anybody, really. Michael would negotiate with Coleman or his lawyer, if he ever gets one, on who those 3 people would be. They would hear the case, and they would make a decision. The other way is to go to trial at court, which would, the appointment of commissioners would be less expensive, obviously.
This is kind of dependent on Coleman himself though, right?
Yeah, Coleman is, it's
Yeah,
his
we could go
appeal.
either way ourselves.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, we
but
could
it's up to
go either
Coleman
way.
If he wants to spend some money to
Yeah,
hire somebody.
yeah. So Michael Tarrant was going to talk to Coleman about these 2 options.
Yeah, see which way.
And we could have Michael come. We'd have to pay him, of course. But he could come to us after he's, worked out something with Coleman. We could hear him out and decide which way we want to go.
I think probably that's wise,
Yeah, okay, all right.
because I could live with either way.
Right,
I'd
yeah.
prefer the cheaper option, but
Yeah.
knowing that we gotta live with whatever the commissioners come up with, and the same thing, we gotta live with whatever the court comes up with.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. So, Michael is going to be, he didn't have a definite date to meet with Coleman. And one of the things that Coleman hasn't done yet is he was supposed to notify the people that were at the hearings that he is actually appealing our decision.
When does that take away his appeal right, though, when he starts?
I don't think it does. It's just
Okay.
something that he should do. If he doesn't do it, it is a check against him.
Against him, okay.
Yeah, but I don't.
Because I know at some point that if we go with the judge, we'll be scheduled and we'll end up
Yeah.
in court, and he better be ready.
Yeah.
Does he have a certain length of time that he has to?
Well,
do that in?
he's within his appeal.
Apparently not. Apparently not, but it's something that he should do.
Because it will be an issue in court.
Yeah, it'll be an issue that he didn't follow through on that if he doesn't. So,
Is there any interest on the board of counteracting any of these fees?
I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean by that. Of having Coleman pay for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any means to collect, that's the
Right.
issue.
Right.
Because one of the issues is the cost.
I
is
mean,
fees
the other,
we've set.
Put it right in the trial. If he loses, he's gonna pay the court costs.
well, one of the things that Michael has
Yeah,
mentioned,
the
of course,
statute sets some of
is
this,
if,
there's none of that in there, that's the problem.
if we're looking at spending, let's say we're looking at spending $10,000 to do this, especially if we go to court, and all Coleman wants is his original $5,000 for the
It's
spur,
cheaper just to,
then we could just settle with him.
I don't know
Well,
what.
we've already spent that last fiscal.
I know we've spent, I don't know how much we spent, but we have spent a fair amount of money already.
so with the commissioners, that's why I'd like to talk to the attorney, if we went
Yeah.
with the board of commissioners, which obviously would be a cheaper option,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever they come up with, there's probably an appeal process for that, and that's my, I mean, even with the Superior Court, there's appeal
Right.
for that to the Supreme
Right.
Court. So if he wants to keep carrying this, just could go on and on and on.
I could ask Michael if that, if this is a decision is final and there's no room for.
Or ask him to ask Coleman what it is that he wants.
Right,
He stopped at my house a week ago Sunday. And he had some questions, nothing better than anything. And he said, I wish the town would give me just a little bit more than they offered.
So that's another thing we could ask
So
the
that's
attorney
what
to
I would
ask
tell the
him.
lawyer,
So-
what is your bottom
Well,
dollar?
that's what I'm getting to. So why don't we have the attorney ask him what he wants to settle this?
okay.
It doesn't mean we have to agree to do it, it's just we get his,
Right.
At least we have a number, yeah.
we know it's challenging.
You know, if you could get it out for an extra 500, probably worth it.
Yeah, because again, if we're looking at court, if we end up in court, it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Well, at the hearing, he asked for 5,000. And
He
we,
indicated to me the other day that he would take less than that, but he didn't say what.
okay,
So I think it's worth asking the question, what would it take?
Definitely worth asking the question.
okay, all right, Michael, I'll call him tomorrow and have him do that.
Ask him, just the third question, he's already asked him about the other two options, and then what would it take to settle this case?
Yeah, get this all done right here.
What was our first offer,
It
Coleman?
was 2,500.
25, okay, so
Yeah.
that's where we're at. So whether it's 3 or,
It's obviously gonna be cheaper than core.
yeah.
So the other,
And believe me, I'm not in favor of giving him anything, but
right,
on the other hand, if it's gonna save the town,
That's where we are.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it exactly.
We are on the road, so
Yeah.
that's where
yeah,
we're at.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
But I'm sure he'll take less than 5,000.
okay. So I'll ask Michael to ask him that question. Yeah. The other part of the appeal is, of course, he's challenging the conclusion that
The need.
the need, the necessity.
But again,
for it.
if it
But
was-
if that's,
If it's just a money thing, then we
Yeah,
can
it's
fix
just a
that, it's
money
gone,
thing.
we're done with it.
yeah, and chances are with Mr. Parker, that's the main issue.
Well, I'll be in writing too, so it should be done by
Yeah.
the time we're done.
Okay, so I'll call Michael and have him do that.
You know, there's some reasoning to the deal too. Rick Barron really doesn't want people going up that way. He really doesn't want the road fixed. That's the best way for Coleman to get into his land.
Mhm.
So, you know, maybe the lawyer should point that out to him too, that, you know, that you may not get just what you want, but it may be your best way out to get rid of your land.
Right, yeah. And the other person that he sold some land to, that's how they get access to their
Right.
property too.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you guys decide you're not gonna do anything, look and tear that piece of road right up, things are gonna change completely.
Because that's the alternative, we lose completely, then my opinion is throw that whole road up because it doesn't go anywhere.
Right, yeah,
That's the alternative.
Well, at least go up and tear that end off.
Right.
right. Yeah. Well, except it's not our property to do that.
No, no, because again, you're kind of at a crossroads. If we don't, to me, if that end doesn't get finished, there's no point to own any of that.
No.
I would advocate to throw the entire road up and just be done with it. And that's not helpful to him either. I'm sure he doesn't want that happening either.
Well, that's the thing that is, you
So
got,
we're not in a terrible negotiating position.
Right,
not yet, but he's one of them people you gotta point those things out to.
right.
I've dealt with him quite a lot over the years.
Yeah, well, I'm
He's
learning.
getting experience, aren't you?
So that's pretty much it on the agenda. You know, while Robin is here, I just wanted to mention to all of us, just, you know, with this pandemic, this town hall has become a
Quite used.
very important place. It's the only place that we can really meet. I checked about meeting at the school, and the school right now with this whole pandemic
They're not
thing is
wanting
not
anybody
wanting
there.
anybody from the outside using the inside of the building at all. So this is until, you know, and the town office is
Too small for
too small, so we're
more than
gonna
a
need
couple
to be
people.
here for a while, I'm thinking. And, you know, it seems like there's some things that we could try to do to make it usable for the time that we're gonna have to do. And, you know, so I just want us to start thinking about that. Maybe we can get some stronger light bulbs and fix those light bulbs so we have, because it's gonna be getting darker.
Well, is it the lights not flipped, right?
No, I think the bulbs are blown.
I think the bulbs are gone. Yeah, so,
I concur with that, Michael.
Yeah,
okay.
you know, maybe
Yes.
talk about something insulating underneath.
Yeah, some things that we can do to make this a tolerable space for meeting.
How high of a wattage would you go?
Just to give us some enough, I mean, these are, I like the quality of the light,
We'll
but
have to
it
hand out
is,
headlamps.
yeah, it is, there isn't, it could be
Those of us
brighter.
with compromised eyesight have trouble reading the papers.
And I bet those are old incandescent bulbs, would be my guess, but, so let's just think about.
Okay, yep, that's a fair.
LEDs would make a big difference.
Yeah,
They would.
probably change them to 100-watt LEDs, and, you know, there'd be a lot less wattage, but a bit more
Yeah,
light.
yeah, save a little bit on
Just
electricity.
screw them right in.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know if there's something, a quick fix for the windows for winter, or, you know, what,
The windows aren't the biggest problem in the wintertime, it's what comes up through the floor is cold.
okay, all right.
Well, one of the things I had mentioned before is getting those panels made,
For the
insulation
side,
that can go around the bottom.
I mean, like a skirt?
Yeah.
With the two things to help you is put insulation in the attic and stop the air from coming in the bottom.
Yeah.
So those are, I don't know what budget-wise we have, those are two things, if you're gonna need to use it, that's where I would go.
We could have,
You could put insulation in the attic for not a lot of work.
right, we could have somebody from Efficiency Vermont come in.
I would think
Look
that
at
would be the place to start.
Yeah,
You probably get a rebate on it too.
we would, yeah, and of
You
course,
could possibly get them to pay for it. I know that at the store, when they put in that heat, the heat pump air conditioner thing, efficiency will not pay for some
Yep.
of that.
yeah, they usually pay a pretty good
If
percentage.
we're gonna be using it a lot, we may seriously look at insulating the attic and skirting the building.
Yeah, yeah, so, and it does bode for the future that we may want to start thinking of how, fixing
Yeah,
this place
good
up a little
thought.
bit. Anything else?
I'm good.
I got just one other thing.
Okay.
Asked him about them parking across the road down there. Should we put a no parking sign in that?
Right on by the hedges where Andy Laflante's place is.
Yeah.
So what's happening down there? It seems like we're in a little bit of a skirmish with them.
What's the
Well,
issue? I didn't,
they created a driveway, number one,
Yeah.
to start without a curb cut permit.
so we need to probably address that.
Yeah, so Chuck addressed that.
Okay.
Did you go and speak to them about it?
I did.
Okay,
And Brian asked me to get down and talk to him. I went down and talked to him. Told him I had to have a
Need to
Driveway
file a
permit.
curb cut application.
curb cut.
yeah,
And he said he would go do it. It dragged on for a week. I don't know if he did it or not.
uh-huh.
Brian says.
Well, you would have seen it if you had done it, because,
He
Yeah,
had
they go to
probably
you,
never
yeah.
had the money to pay for the actual,
Ah,
he did the paperwork, but didn't pay for it.
So I had
It's
Chuck
not-
remove his driveway.
Right, that's our prerogative, because he has no permit to have it.
it's not that expensive, isn't it? Just like $10, yeah. Okay, all right.
Because when.
well, it's too close to the intersection anyway. It shouldn't be a driveway there.
Yeah,
But
no
there's
way.
still parking there, and I'm wondering if we should just punch a hole and put a no
So they're
parking sign.
parking next to the ditch that's there now?
Yeah,
So-
between the ditch and the road.
We probably should, because if you come around that corner.
Yeah, no, we
That's
should,
where the problem is.
we should put no parking signs up.
Yeah. And maybe we should let them know that we're gonna wanna do that and let them know the reason why, rather than, instead of just putting the signs up and,
Just let him know it's a safety issue and we're not gonna.
I mean, I'm happy to go
Can't park there, yeah.
tell them that if you don't want to, but.
No, it doesn't matter to me. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't, I'll do it.
Doesn't seem to bother Adam at all talking to him. He doesn't get mad about anything.
No, he's,
He's fine.
Yeah, he's just fine,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
He doesn't drive
I
anyways.
think just communicating with them, so it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like we're kind of harassing them or whatever, or him.
Yeah.
And giving them, the reason why we need to do that, because, I mean, I cut down that corner pretty good, and if there's something there that I don't,
Yeah.
anticipating, no. And there are some people going up and down that road that rip through there pretty quickly.
You do. I met one yesterday morning.
Yeah, okay.
So on the sign, I just thought of something else. We had to pull up the sign for the ADA parking space for the post office. It was in the pavement.
Yeah.
Have we got a post and a means to drive a post between the curb and the ADA ramp so we can put that sign back up? The sign's laying on the ground over there, but the post is bent. I don't know if they get, when they're over there, if we can drive a new post and just bolt the sign up where the parking space is
Yeah.
gone. And I'd really rather not dig down through the pavement to put it back up.
Right, they got a pipe.
You'll see there's enough space between the ramp and the curb. I think we
I'll
can,
have them.
the sign's right there, just unbolt it, put a new, the old post is bent, and then just discard the old post.
Right.
Because it got hit at some point.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's the only thing that's, I think, damage-wise that didn't get put back yet.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else at all?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Brian's just gonna sit there.